high at the house after showing up at a premiere high, and people were complaining, and I just had enough, and I told him to leave, and he came at me, and we got in a fight, and that was it.
Yes. Do you think like was it tied to like Lindsay's fame? Because right, like as someone gets more famous, there's listen, let's face it, everybody wants a piece of the pie. You're right. There's all these hangers on, everyone sees money. The fame is a whole nother aspect of it. Like, do you think like you and Dina would have survived if it wasn't like for Lindsay's fame and all of that that kind of changed life?
I think there was yeah, that was a factor without a doubt. I think if, you know, there's so many factors. There's so many, David. The people, the hangers on, the parasites, the people coming around that wanted to be there for the wrong reasons. And then when I stepped up and said something to them, they badmouthed me behind my back to Dina and, plant that little seed in her head. And, he's causing problems. And no, it wasn't causing problems, whether it was managers or if it was just people hanging around, so-called friends, fair weathered friends. I'm the kind of person I speak my mind. I'm not going to hold back. Am I going to be inappropriate? No, but I'm going to tell you what I feel. Believe me. And that was a problem. Sometimes my mouth got me in trouble.
What do you
It,
think of
it
like a
might, it might, it might today too.
No, but this is how it's true. This is how it works. And I mean, I think like was there like did life truly change? Like was it the Parent Trap or was it Mean Girls? Like is it really overnight? And like what was that like for you as a parent when like your whole life changes just because the person's doing what they want to do, right? She wanted to act.
Well, the parent trap definitely was the catalyst. That did catapult her. That's when people, even me, David, I would bring her, drop them off at auditions and not go up and see. I didn't see her on camera and stuff. I saw her in another world and she was good, but I didn't spend time on the set or anything like that. But when I watched her audition for the Parent Trap and I watched that scene of her and Natasha, God rest her soul, in the bed when Lindsay reveals herself and pulls the covers over it, I literally cried. I couldn't believe my daughter was so talented to switch her accents at the drop of a dime on her own and pull that off like she did. That was over 7 months of shooting where that kid played both roles and did it on her own. And guess what? She is believable as both characters. It's seamless. It's flawless. And she should have got an Oscar for that film. There's no question.
You think so?
Oh yeah. Are you kidding me? I mean, you show me another kid that age that could have pulled that off. I don't know any. And I'm not patting her on the back because she's my daughter. If it was anyone that did as well as she did in that film, they deserve an Oscar, especially at 10 years old. Come on.
Yeah. And to play two parts, you know?
Yeah, I mean, look at Julie Garland, how amazing she was, and she was much older than Lindsay. And you have some other talented kids that were younger, Dakota Fanning and this one and that. You have some very talented younger kids, but that role those roles she played in The Parent Trap were absolutely amazing. They really were.
Was there like one defining moment, either like in your life or like Lindsay's, where you like, when did you realize like our lives have changed, and they will never be the same, whether it's for the better or the worse? Like after that movie, like was it walking down the street? Was it like the seas parting and come on in, skip the velvet rope? No pun intended. Like, was there one thing you remember where you're like, oh, wait, life has really changed?
Um, well, after The Parent Trap, yeah, but I mean, there were no velvet ropes when she was 11 years old. Um, did she get behind the velvet rope when she was older? Absolutely. But just everything. I mean, no matter where she went, people opened doors and they were, whispering and looking at her and the head of the line, even as a child. I mean, it was amazing. But I have to say, and just the appreciation expressed from Disney and the studio. I have to say, Dick Cook, who was the CEO of Disney at the time, is one of the most amazing men I've ever met in my life. That man was an amazing, amazing man. He was just, I can't say enough about him. I really can't. And Nancy Myers and Charles Shire, they were like family. And Nancy's still very close to Lindsay. And, I reached out once in a while, but I lost touch with Charles. But she was blessed to be around such amazing people. The whole Myers Shire family were. great. I mean, the kids, Haley and Annie, were amazing too. But she was blessed to have that kind of experience to begin with.
What do you think? Because like you mentioned, like maybe the parent shouldn't be the manager. What do you think of like a Kris Jenner who's managing a whole brood and is they're now the most famous family I believe that's ever really existed in this business, other than maybe like the royal family, which they're not even in the business.
Yeah, yeah. And you want to hear the funny part is before the Kardashians, that show was made, they actually came to us to do a show about the Lohans. And Dina didn't want, that's when Dina and I were going through trouble and she didn't want me on it. So they kind of canned the show and she did Living Lohan, which flopped. But, maybe it was for the best. Who knows what would have happened. But what do I think about Kris Jenner and the way she must handle things differently? It's just, I know some people do things differently. Everyone was all on the same page in that family. With our family, we weren't on the same page. Some people wanted, I don't know what their motives were, if they wanted the ego, if they had an ego, if they wanted the fame or whatever. I didn't want that. Some other people in my family did, unfortunately, but it didn't pan out. So what's in the cards is in the cards. That's.
I truly believe that. Who approached you? Was it E to do a show
Um,
like this?
a number, yeah, a number. He was one of them, but there were a number of different people that came to us. Yep.
And they wanted you guys just to be like you, Dina, Lindsay, Allie.
Family, yeah. And then, it's when we were going through that difficult time in our life with when Lindsay was famous and Dina kind of, she chose her friends and that side over me. I was very controversial and confrontational too with her friends. I mean, there were people that were just doing too much drinking and partying, and I didn't go for it. Showing up drunk at the premieres and they'd be out when I was working in New York. They'd show up in California, staying with Dina, and Lindsay, and the kids, and I'd show up at the house, and then we'd get in an argument. It was not good.
Did you and or Lindsay want to do this reality show? Like it was Dina that put the kibosh on it.
Well, we didn't really discuss it. I mean, I did talk to Dina about it, and I thought it might have been a good idea. I mean, at that point in our life, it would have been really interesting to see a family that wasn't part of Hollywood grow in Hollywood. And we had a lot of interesting aspects to our life. It was pretty neat. But no, Dina just wanted it to be her and the kids. So that's all I can say about that.
Wow. What about, this narrative that was out there in the past, that like you and maybe Dina too, but it really was you, like you were like jealous, like Lindsay was making money, your career, you weren't on Wall Street anymore. Like there that narrative was out there.
Well, if it was, I didn't hear it. I mean, look at, I was happy for my daughter. I mean, I'm very happy for who wouldn't be happy for their kid? I'm still proud of her, to make the money she made it by the time she was 18, she was a multi millionaire.